All right, folks, so I'm going to do a little video here on comparing three very classic and kind of retro German police pistols from way back in the day. Maybe not that far back, but old. So way back when, in response to the Munich Olympic massacre, the German police decided they need to upgrade their sidearms to something a little bit more effective than, say, a 32, tiny little Walther PP pistol. So in these trials that came through for the German police to decide which pistols they wanted, there were three pistols that were chosen: the P5, P6, and P7, as everyone knows. So I happen to have all three examples here with me, and they're conveniently also all military surplus, or I should say police surplus. So these were in fact used at some point by actual German police from various, I don't know if you'd call them counties or like states, or however Germany describes them, like parts of Germany. So, but what I want to discuss really was like, so how do all of these pistols compare to each other in terms of like shootability, reliability, cost, even, and my personal opinions about them. So, because I have extensive numbers of rounds through these pistols, because honestly they're just fun to shoot, and it's really nice also to from a collector standpoint to have all three of them here. So let's just start out with the P5. So this here is a Walther P5, which is very much heavily based on basically a P38 style action. I think it is the most modernized iteration of a P38 design, and you can definitely see the internal workings and how this thing operates is pretty much P38. So with some nice little additions, so on and so forth. So this one I have put some aftermarket kind of target style grips on here. You see that it's got a big thumb ledge right there. I absolutely love it. This gun fits so excellently in my hands. It is absolutely fantastic. A total joy to shoot. To be honest, I think I won't say just yet, but it's very high up there on my ranking for the three. So yeah, this one is absolutely fantastic. Next up, we got the Sig Sauer P6. And I do say Sig Sauer, not Sig, because Sig USA is not Sig Sauer. Sig Sauer Germany or Europe, in my personal opinion. So yeah, Sig P6, pretty much a carbon copy of a Sig P22X, except it's got the very large squared off trigger guard here. In pretty much every other respect, this is a 225, and not the 225A1. The 225A1 is a different thing made by Sig USA to make it ever so slightly different for whatever reason, so they can't use the same magazines, and I have no idea why they did that. But anyway, so this design obviously is pretty much like the rest of Sig, the 22X series of pistols. So 220s, 226s, 228s, 229s, all that. This is right in line with that, because it's got the big decocker lever there. It's double single action. Yeah, pretty standard stuff. It also has the interestingly little kind of hooked hammer there. And people will say that's for a number of reasons. Some say that it's meant for the in case the police had to draw their pistol, it would like cut the whatever lanyard they had, or if they dropped the pistol, they could see if it hit the hammer here, it would break the little hook. But whatever the actual reason is, I don't actually like 100% know. But those are two explanations I have heard. So I also had very nice wooden grips for this, but I have since reverted back to the original plastic, just to give it the more original look to it, because this is how it would have been issued. This particular example has a ton of wear on it. I mean, you can just look at the top of the slide there. It's just it's been worn, carried a lot, shot little, so still a pretty interesting piece. So we'll move on to the crown jewel, the HK P7. Anybody who knows guns knows pretty much these are like a grail gun for a lot of people for good reason. The craftsmanship quality of this pistol far surpasses the others. I mean, there's no question about it. but it's also a lot more complex and interesting and different in its own special way, because that's kind of how HK did things back in the day. So I've had an interesting experience with this pistol, to say the least, because it is such a unique firearm. So yeah, I also had some wood grips for this one as well, but I've also reverted back to the original plastic because, like I said, I wanted to keep kind of the original look about it. So let's move on to shootability. So for shootability, and when I say shootability, I've tested these pistols all with the regular stock issue plastic grips that they come with, but also with the very nice wooden custom grips that I got for them as well. I tested both. So I would say in terms of shootability, the P5 is undoubtedly my absolute favorite to shoot. I think a lot of it has to do with the grips and the nice target ledge there, so I can really rest my thumb on that. But in general, this one is the most accurate that I can shoot out of this trinity of pistols. Also, the trigger is very nice on it. I wouldn't say it's a match trigger or anything like that. It's not gonna, if you shot some really nice 1911s, this one won't come close to it. But it's really not that bad. Certainly, it's a trigger I can work with and that I prefer. So the double action is very smooth and very predictable for me. And the single action is actually quite nice. There's a little bit of take up, just a little bit, and you can actually see the back of the firing pin move up in the rear of the channel here. And then you hit the wall, and then the release is just fantastic. Oh man! I also like the fact that the front of the trigger there is serrated and curved in such a way that if I want to shoot in my preferred style of shooting pistols with my trigger finger at the very tip of the pad here pushing straight back, like you would shoot a 1911, you can absolutely do that with this pistol, at least for me in my hands and my fingers. So I absolutely love shooting this pistol. I mean, I fell in love with it ever since I got the best pistol group I've ever done was 1.2 inch group, 5 shots at 25 yards offhand with this pistol using match ammo. It's just absolutely fantastic. I love an accurate weapon. I love a weapon that's very easy to shoot accurately, and this thing is definitely both of them. I also love the fact that this is the one of the only pistols I know of that ejects from the left-hand side. So you can see right there, the ejection port is on the left, not the right. So that utterly confuses people at the range because they see the brass flying the complete opposite direction. They're wondering where the heck it's coming from. And I'm sitting over there just completely blasting away with this, having a great grand old time. Yeah, so shootability, this thing is awesome. The sights are nothing to write home about. It is a very old style of sight where you can see well, let me get the hammer out of the way. The rear notch there is a rear notch, but it also has that white kind of post right there in the center of it, which you line right with the front white dot, so you kind of dot the eye. This is a very old style, kind of retro style iron sighting system. I actually kind of like it over a traditional 3-dot style or just a simple black notch and black front sight post. I actually don't mind dotting the eye that much. It has proven to be pretty accurate for me. So, and honestly, this thing is just a short, handy package. Like, even though it looks kind of dinky and kind of short, at least compared to like a P38, which has like a much longer barrel, it really doesn't matter with this one so much. Very soft recoiling, very controllable. Follow-up shots are easy to do. I would say maybe the biggest hitch to shootability is the lack of, somewhat lack of external controls. So as you can see on here, there's not really a thing for you to kind of, like the other pistols, to maybe a more conventional style, right? Where you have a slide lock release lever. This one doesn't really. So if we take a look at this curved bar right here, that is actually the remnant of the slide lock release lever of a P38. So let's say you had the magazine out and you had the gun, you had the gun just like this, and you wanted to lock the slide back, but you have no mag. Well, the way you do that is you would actually pull the slide back, and while you're pushing up on that little curved arm right there, that will lock the slide open. I'll demonstrate. So, got my hand right there, pull this back, push up on that, and it locks open. So, it's still there, but it's not what you would call easily accessible or something that you would really trigger all that often while working this gun. Now, the slide lock release lever is interesting, to say the least, because it is a combination right here. This big paddle here is a combination slide release lever, but also a decocker. So I'll show that here. So we'll push down on that, send the slide home. Now you see it's a single action. Push down on this lever again, and it decocks it. Almost like a SIG in some ways, but very interesting kind of manual of arms there with a dual use kind of lever like that. The only other gun I've seen that being used on is the AREX Rec 01 pistols, which are a SIG clone. They also have a dual use slide lock release lever and decocker just like this, although much smaller. So kind of a strange pistol. Oh, and of course, heel magazine release. So just like your P38 and your older style Ruger Mark pistols, heel magazine release. So it's not the fastest in the world. You don't just press a button and it comes flying out. So not super fast, but definitely still manageable for sure. And especially for me, because like I said, I grew up a lot shooting the Ruger Mark II pistols, which have a heel magazine release. So for me, when I'm shooting, it's very natural for me to press that, rip that out, put a new one in, no problem. So for me, it's very natural, but I know for some people, it's kind of difficult and hard to get used to if it's not a traditional button style. So overall shootability, P5 is the best of the lot, by far. Next, the P6. So the P6 is the worst of the bunch for me. I am the least accurate with this gun, and I have spent a not small amount of money to get this thing more shootable. So I got the nice wood grips for it. I tried even getting a different custom barrel made for it by EFK Fire Dragon. Great folks, by the way. I've tried all kinds of things to try to make this gun shoot better. I've tried different kinds of ammo, different magazines, even all kinds of stuff. I just cannot shoot this gun very well. I think the best grip I got with this is probably around 4 inches at 25 yards with match ammo. So really not all that impressive. I think a lot of it has to do with the trigger, because this is the trigger on this is not the best, honestly, even among SIGs. So the single action has quite a bit of take up, and the release on it just isn't very clean to me. You know, it's just it feels very unsatisfactory. It doesn't. It's not a good release. It just doesn't feel right to me. The double action on this is also horrendously heavy. You know, it is a police service weapon, so you don't really want a super light double action pull. But at the same time, it's not very conducive for accuracy or quickness or speed for your first shot. It's just super stagey, very heavy, and I just don't like it. Also, the sights are what I mentioned earlier, the plain black plastic, blacked out notch with the black front. Not really a huge fan of these. I don't know why. It just, for some reason, I just absolutely cannot shoot this pistol that well. I know it's a good pistol, and you know, because it falls in the lines of the regular other SIGs with the, you know, like I said, the 22X lines of pistols. So I know it's a good pistol, but for me, I don't really like this one all that much. And that's really why I have reverted back also to the black plastic grips, because this will be more of probably a safe queen than me shooting it all that often. I've put more rounds through this pistol than any of the Trinity here, and just an attempt to redeem it maybe, and try to get some good string of shooting out of it, but I just, for the life of me, I cannot. So not my favorite of the bunch, that's for sure. So still features all the usual SIG controls that you're used to. So it does have the button magazine release. Everyone's used to that. If you know how to take down any of the other SIG pistols, you know how to take this one down. Like I said, it's basically a 225. So I know it's a good gun, but not for me. Right, and finally, we got the HK P7 here. Now, it's hard to kind of subtract the general gun lore, folklore that surrounds the myth and the legend of the P7. And honestly, I kind of bought into that myself. But after shooting it as much as I have, maybe around 800 rounds through this thing, the mythos has kind of worn off a little bit. The newness has worn off for me, and that's why I've also taken the wood grips off and replaced them with the black ones. In terms of mechanical accuracy, this one is by far the most accurate, potentially accurate out of the bunch here. There's no question about that. This has a fixed barrel. The quality and craftsmanship of HK, especially of this pistol, is absolutely legendary and totally deserved in my opinion. It is the best made pistol out of all of these by far, no question. So the inherent mechanical accuracy is absolutely present with this gun. The thing is, the ergonomics to me on this pistol are almost non-existent. This thing feels like an absolute brick in my hand. I do not like how any of this feels in my hand. And also the unusual squeeze cocker mechanism here. It's so unconventional and so weird and so different. The fact that I have to change my entire shooting stance, grip, everything, just to operate this pistol in a normal fashion, kind of subtracts some points away from me personally. I can't find myself really wanting to shoot this all the time. And this is also with the fact that this thing heats up really fast. So me being in Arizona, it's summertime. You're in the middle of the day. It's like 100 plus out, like 110 outside, and you're in the sun. At least part of the day where the sun is hitting in the range. So you got your gun sitting there, and I have literally had a point where I put about 100 rounds through this gun real quick, just real fast, and it was too hot for me to hold to shoot. I could feel the heat just coming back all through here, and I was like, damn, this thing is hot. So I was like, okay, I'll open it up, I'll set it down on the table and let it cool for a while. Well, I didn't really think about the heat in the sun and everything, so it's literally just sitting in the sun baking in the middle of the day when it's like 110 outside, and the thing just did not cool down at all. So I actually had to go get a pair of gloves just to shoot this. And at that point I was like, okay, this is a little ridiculous. But I will say the absolute accuracy of this thing will put bullets exactly where you need them to go. And what I mean by that is if you make even the smallest error in your grip, your sight picture, your trigger press, your trigger control, your breathing, all your fundamentals of shooting for pistols, right? If you make one tiny mistake, this pistol absolutely will show you that. Like you will be off by a tiny little bit, and it will absolutely show you that you were off. If you miss with this pistol, it is because of you, not because of the pistol. And I absolutely 100% believe that. This thing is scarily accurate. So that part of the mythos of the P7 absolutely is deserved, in my opinion. It is crazy accurate. The trigger pull is unlike any other pistol, though. It is so unconventional and so different, just like everything else about this gun. It is single action, but it's just so undefinable and strange and weird. It's light, but it's heavy at the same time. It has a wall, but it doesn't have a wall. It's very nice, but at the same time unpredictable, so therefore not all that nice. It is just so hard to accurately describe what this trigger is like, but to me personally, I don't like it very much. It is certainly conducive to accuracy because it is a very light single action trigger pull, but all the other things that you have to do just to hold this pistol correctly and hold the cocker mechanism down, along with the recoil as well, because this is a gas retarded blowback pistol. It still does have some significant recoil. It's not going to hurt your hand or anything, but you definitely notice it over more conventional designs like the P5 or the P6. So it is a little bit more snappy than the other two here. And then, like I said, just the ergonomics of this makes this kind of honestly a little hard to hold on to under like very, very quick sustained fire. And like I said, it heats up a lot. very fast. So the ergonomics are just subpar to me, and a really big reason why I kind of don't like shooting this that much. Also for me, I know this is not standard for pretty much any other P7 out there, but the original sights that came on this gun actually flew off. The rear sight actually flew off the gun while I was firing it, because whoever had this last really tinkered with it in a bad way. He bubbled it quite a bit, and so the dovetail back here is a little oversized. So he may have ground it just a little bit, or maybe it's just from honest wear. I don't know. This gun's quite old. It's from the early 90s. But, so yeah, the rear sight flew off of this gun, and so I replaced it, courtesy, thanks of James Williamson, Master HK Armor dude, super cool dude. Definitely check him out if you've never heard of him. He did the work on this gun. Fantastic job. Great working with the guy. P7s are kind of like his wet dream gun. He loves these things. I personally don't have that kind of same level of love for these things. I can absolutely appreciate what this is. I can appreciate the quality and craftsmanship and everything about it. It's just absolutely top tier, very much HK in everything about it. But just, in terms of practical shootability, I don't think it's very practical, to be honest, especially in today's age. Maybe that's not a fair thing to say because this pistol is quite old, but even for its time, it just kind of left scratching your head and thinking, why? So, yeah, this is, like I said, absolutely the best made, the highest quality of any of the Trinity pistols. But for me, in terms of shootability, it wasn't really doing it for me. Maybe it's because I didn't like the fact that every little mistake that I made, it showed for sure. But, this isn't a pistol that you're going to go to the range and dump 500 rounds in one range session. Not that anybody does that now anyways, because I get it, the cost of ammo. But I'm saying if you wanted to, you couldn't really do that with this pistol because it just heats up too damn fast. And now you have to resort to wearing gloves. The controls on this are also incredibly unusual, incredibly just different. It does have a paddle magazine release, so ambidextrous on both sides. That's pretty nice. Just push down on these levers and the magazine comes flying out. Pretty cool. But I'll say the slide lock lever is almost invisible. Most people miss it. In fact, I did not know this when I first bought this pistol, that it was actually a feature on this gun. So I just assumed they didn't have one. So if you look very closely, right there above the magazine release, there's a little kind of triangle shaped piece. So that is the actual slide lock. So if you finagle this in just the right way and have your hands in just the right way, you can actually press in on that little triangle thing there, and you can push the slide back, and it locks it open, just like that. And you can see I have no magazine in it. That's what that thing is for. I had absolutely no idea that that's what it did, and that it was even there in the first place. Like, it is so unobvious to me, and really anyone else that's just looking at a conventional pistol. They would never figure that out. So just like everything else about this gun, just completely unusual. And sometimes I really do have to wonder if the HK engineers that were making this were doing that for the sake of being different. Not because it made sense, not because it was practical, not because they thought it would add some kind of value to it, but just because they wanted to be different, dang it. It's hard not to think that that's what they were thinking when they made this gun. It is so unusual. But that's also why I like it so much, because there is absolutely nothing else like a HK P7, and that is totally part of the mythos, the sheer urban lore and myth and legend that surrounds this gun. Some of it is warranted, some of it is absolutely not. But I'm definitely not of the drinking the HK Kool-Aid here when it comes to saying that this is absolutely the latest and greatest, best designed HK pistol ever made by man, and nothing surpasses it in terms of shootability. I just don't believe it. I don't, at least for me. So, while I still will enjoy shooting this one and kind of using it as like a show-off piece, I'm like, hey, look, I got this cool HK gun. What other HKs do you have that are this cool, right? Kind of a bit of a bragging point. But I am super glad that I did buy this, though, because like I said, this is also a military, or I should say, like I said, police surplus, because you can see the ground off mark right there. retired from service. Super cool. HK collectors don't like that, but I like it because now all of my trinity of German police pistols actually are police pistols. So that is a very important part to me for my collection purposes. So, like I said though, scarily accurate, very reliable, awesome. But in terms of shootability, it's just not for me. I will say it is better than the P6 for sure. I'm able to be way more accurate with this than the P6. I think the best group I got was like a 2.1 inch group with match ammo, 25 offhand. But overall, the cons for me outweigh the pros when I shoot this gun. So not the most fun thing to shoot. So let me pause it here real quick. Okay, we're back. So yeah, in terms of the German police pistol trinity that we have here, right? They're all great pistols. They really are. All of them are well made, excellently made. They just don't make them like they used to anymore. And this is definitely the case with these. The value for these things have just absolutely gone through the roof, as I've seen over the years. I mean, like I said, I got this P5, and you can see in my video about it too. I got this P5 for an absolute steal. I think I paid like $350 for it to some old guy at a gun show. This one I paid $400, and the P7 here I paid a pawn shop I think $1,600 for it. This is all like what 2017, 2018 time frame. So not all that long ago. But if you look at the gun broker prices now, even for ones that are in worse condition or not even like police surplus guns, they're just commercial models, they're way like hundreds of dollars more. In the case of P7s, oh my goodness, the sky is a limit for how much you want to spend on these things. Insane. So if your heart is really set on getting one of these particular ones for whatever reason you want to get it, right, you will not be disappointed in how these things shoot. Like, I 100% believe that. They're all great shooters. They all have their quirks too, of course. Even my favorite, the P5, is not perfect. Getting parts for this is practically impossible. It does have the heel magazine release, and also the original magazines for these things are kind of a little hard to source because I don't think they've made them in quite a long time. But I will say this pistol was the only one that worked with the Pro Mag equivalent magazines for these guns. The P5 was the only one that worked. I have the Pro Mags for this gun, the P6, and I have Pro Mags for the P7, both of which are absolute garbage. Don't work worth a damn. I mean, it's Pro Mag. What do you expect, right? But the Pro Mags for the P5 work perfectly, 100%, as good as the originals, which is very surprising to me, to say the least. So, taken together though, like I said, all of these pistols are fantastic, high quality, well made. They don't make them like they used to. Even if they do look a little worn on the outside, a little used and abused, they've probably been carried a lot and shot very little, like most police guns, right? So clean them up, give them some TLC, replace the springs as you need to, and I mean like the recoil springs, the magazine springs, some of the internal springs as well. You got to replace those. In the case of the P7 here, this thing is an absolute freaking mousetrap on the inside, so I do not recommend trying to fix or replace parts of this gun on your own in any way whatsoever, especially the gas piston in it. Do not mess with that. I recommend with the P7 sending it off to, like I said, James Williamson with, I cannot pronounce his company name, Tilfelschund Tactical, I think. You'll be able to find it. That guy, like I said, masterclass armorer, gunsmith when it comes to P7 and really any HK firearm, but P7s are like his thing. So if you do acquire a P7, absolutely send it off to him. Let him have a look at it. Let him do his magic. Let him do his work. You'll be 100% satisfied with that. I guarantee it. He will replace and tell you everything that needs to be done to your P7 to make it like new. So big recommendation there. For the P6, like I said, I spent a not insignificant amount of money to get this thing to work correctly. Like I said, the EFK fire dragging barrels, I have one here. I really wanted it to work with hollow points, but this gun, the P6, just does not like hollow points, does not like flat point bullets. So if you are buying like 147 grain FMJ bullets that have a flat point or any kind of hollow points, P6 unfortunately is not your friend and will not work with those. This one just does not like them, and any mags that I use, the original or new ones, it can't handle it. I think it has something to do with how it's feeding into the ramp up into the barrel. Could you smooth that? Could you give it to a gunsmith and have him smooth it out or grind out a part of it to make it work? You probably could, yes, but I am vehemently against permanent modifications for historic firearms like this. I do not want to do that in any way, even if it does improve the practical functionality of the firearm for defensive purposes, because that's really the only reason why you would put hollow points in your gun. Although at that point, I'd really be questioning your motives about why you would use, or why would you go out of your way to, one, find a P6, two, pay the price for it, and then use it as a defensive sidearm when there are so many better modern options available. So I would really question your motives when you were doing that. Probably not the best thing to do. Now, if it's your only gun you have, okay, I understand that. But if you're spending P6 money, you could probably get a modern firearm for that much. So, yeah, unfortunately, one of the bad quirks about the P6, which has also driven it further down my list, because I personally like all of my firearms to be as practically minded as possible if the need arises. So if I needed to arm all of my neighbors or all of my friends and give them some kind of weapon to use, and I needed to give them defensive ammunition, hollow points, only the P7 and the P5 would be capable of taking those rounds reliably. The P6 could not. So that's a bit more of my personal system and how I approach my firearms, but I like things to be capable of being used in the role of which maybe they were designed originally. So, I mean, let's be honest here. Police are issued pistols not really for your self-defense, but really more for their self-defense. So these are intended to, pacify people and put holes in them. So if you cannot put a hollow point defensive load into a defensive firearm, its value to me goes straight down. So, but as a collector piece, as a range toy, right? Maybe you just want to show off or you want to enjoy a good old piece of SIG history, Sig Sauer history. This is still an excellent choice. So, and of course, the Walther P5 is just really, really cool because it's got the P38 lineage. And if you're especially lucky, there's an exceptionally rare model of this called the P5 Long, which, as I'm sure you can guess, just has a very long barrel. And I believe, according to the Carl Walther division of Walther, which is a very, very small shop, I asked an inquiry about where I could get one of those long barrels to swap into this one, and they said, well, I'm sorry, sir, only 50 of those were ever made in the entire world. So if you're exceptionally lucky to find one of those things, like, oh man, you gotta jump on it. That's just super, super cool. That would make firing this thing, I think, even more of a pleasant experience. So, and then of course for P7s, the collector market is absolutely nuts. You guys can look up P7 stuff all you want on your own. I'm not even going to get into any of the detail here because it is insane, the collector's market for P7. So the sky's the limit, really. How much money do you got? That's the real question. So yeah, in terms of shootability, reliability, function, all that stuff, all taken together as a complete whole package, comparing the trinity of German police pistols at that time, I really, really personally prefer the Walther P5 over the others. I would rather carry, if I was a German policeman at the time, I would rather carry this gun over any of the others. Second choice would be the P7, of course, and my last choice would be the P6. I would not feel underarmed with any of these choices. In fact, I even have the surplus original holsters that these things would have been carried in. So that's just another cool little point that, whenever I take these out to the range, I have the original holsters right there, and I wear them out to the range. And it's a good time. It's fun. It feels very complete, to say the least, from a collector's standpoint. It's just a cool factor. So yeah, overall top one, P5, P7, P6. So, but don't take my personal take and opinion on these things as like a hardcore definition about the quality and worth of these things. They're all quality guns. They're all fantastic. They all work in their own way. And it's very easy to see why Germany had such a hard time picking just one. So they went with three and just kind of let the counties figure it out for themselves. So, yeah, very, very cool. Super, super awesome, like pieces of history here, and I love the fact that I was able to get all three of them together within a relatively short time, and they're all, police surplus. I'm wearing a police surplus jacket right here. It even says P5s I on the back. Cool stuff, man. Like I said, as a collector and firearms enthusiast like myself, it is super cool to have all this stuff here and just be able to do it, So, yeah, figured I'd cover this because some folks have been asking about it, and it's not often, honestly, that you get all three like this together at once. And also the fact, like I said, they're all police surplus, so super, super rare for that to happen. I am super happy that I was able to get all three of them like this, especially not for a bad price either. So, anyway. I've gone on long enough, and yeah, like I said, if you're really interested in any of these kinds of pistols, especially the P5, my favorite, definitely go out and get one. The prices I think you see for some of these guns are maybe a teeny bit inflated, but given my experience with them, I can really see why they're as high as they are. So, and of course, the P6 is the cheapest of them. So, just saying. So anyway, really all I got to say about that. I've gone on long enough. Like I said, super cool pieces. Buy with confidence, have fun, enjoy them. So that's all I got to say about that. We'll see you next time.